Saints may very well be building one of the most unique and explosive young teams that we have seen in a long time, if not ever. And I say that because a lot of that relies on Tyler Shuck, the quarterback that the Saints drafted last year, who started in the back end of the season last year and led them to 5 wins, 4 losses at the end. And I say that because he is coming from a very unique situation from college. He dealt with a lot of injuries. He had a rough history there in college. He's an older prospect, so he has a little more experience than a lot of your typical rookies will have coming into the NFL, which I think is a huge benefit to him paired with the head coach of Kellen Moore. And so going back to my first statement about how I believe the Saints could be rolling out one of the most unique, explosive offenses in the NFL next year is because of a quote that Kellen Moore made in relation to the Indiana Pacers from a couple years ago and how he was very inspired by that team and the way that they played basketball at a much higher clip, a much faster pace, no pun intended. Um, he said that that inspired him to try to model his offensive game plan around that because he believes the more possessions you have, the more opportunities you have to score, which gets you more points on the board, which hopefully means you beat the opposition. And so I think that he is going to model his offense around that style and that structure, which is very different from what we see most of the time in the NFL. A lot of it is, run the ball out, burn the clock, maintain possession. I think he's going for a much faster pace to try to score as many points as possible. And hopefully your defense can hold it down for the most part, enough for you to win. And we'll talk about the defense later, but if that is truly what the Saints are trying to do and they're successful with that, then I don't know how they're going to be stopped next year. And you think about the offensive pieces that they've added around Tyler Shuck, proving that they believe in him as a quarterback and they believe that he is the future and that he can lead this team to victory. Added Travis Achan from the Jaguars, David Edwards, the guard, to bolster that O line. Jordan Tyson in the first round, Oscar Delp in the third round, Noah Fant. Just offensive signings. Maybe they're not huge and they're not big names necessarily, but what they're doing is they're building a team around the quarterback, which is what you want to see. Um, that means that they have faith in him, the coaching staff, the higher ups, they have faith in him. They believe that he can do what needs to be done to get them across that finish line and at least get us back into the playoffs. And so, with that being said, I believe if all those pieces can stay healthy, all those guys can continue to develop and get better in a whole new year of the same system, then I truly believe that they can be one of the most unique teams in the NFL. And I'm very excited to see that paired with a defensive unit that was top 10 in most categories last year. And defenses is a little more volatile. You don't really know exactly what you're going to get on a year-to-year basis with defense. One year your team could have a top 10 defense. The next year it could be a bottom 10 defense or somewhere in between. You never really know, but defense is not nearly as important as offense. Even though the saying is defense wins championships, I do believe at the highest level, the team with the best defense usually does win or go far in a playoff scenario. But you look at the Texans last year, they had like a top 5 defense. Didn't really work out for them because their offense was so bad. Seattle did have a really good defense. I think they had the best defense, and they did win the Super Bowl. But that's not always correlated with winning the whole thing. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But I think if you want to have sustained success, you need to have an elite offense and an elite attack that keeps the defense on their heels. It just gives you a better opportunity of winning the game. You cannot always rely on your defense to get turnovers or to get big stops, especially when going against the top offenses in the league. Even for instance, you look at Seattle. winning the Super Bowl with an amazing defense, I wouldn't say that the Patriots were a worthy opponent for them. They kind of cupcaked their way into the Super Bowl. I think if they've been playing a better, offense, like say even Josh Allen and the Bills, or if Bo Nix had stayed healthy and they played the Broncos. Broncos also had a really good defense, so that would have been interesting. But I think to a certain extent they got a little lucky with that matchup. But we're not here to talk about that or nitpick that. We want to talk about the Saints and what they're building. And so, yeah, I think there is a lot to look forward to this upcoming season if you are a Saints fan, like myself. I think there's positive atmosphere around the team as well. There's clips of Tyler Shuck and Chris Olave and Travis Achan, all those guys working out together, facilities, working out with Drew Brees. There's a lot of camaraderie going on. And that's what you want to see in the offseason. There's a lot of guys that are probably using this time to party or, not make the most of their opportunity in the NFL. And it seems like the Saints guys, they're locked in. They know that this season means something. They know they have an opportunity to prove themselves to the league and to their peers that they are worthy to be considered a threat again in the NFL because they were at one point with Drew Brees and Sean Payton. They were a really good team, a team that was feared. You did not want to go play in the Superdome. And I do think truly that this year we get back to that version of the Saints. And if that's the case, then great things are to come because it's a very young team. And that's another reason for optimism is that this team's so young. They're still building an identity. They're still figuring out who they are, but it seems like they're one step closer than they were last season, and that is huge. Um, but again, this is just a channel to talk about sports, specifically the Saints, especially with their season coming up right now. I cannot wait for that season to begin. And I apologize for any rough moments in the video. I am driving. That is kind of going to be the premise of this, is that I make these videos while I'm driving, on the way to work, or just wherever I'm going, because I seem to have a clearer way of, saying what I need to say. And so it really helps for me to have my car be my studio for now. Eventually, hopefully, I have a place where I can talk to the camera and have real no distractions because driving obviously is distracting. It's therapeutic for me, but it's also a little distracting. So that is something that I'm going to have to manage because right now I live with my wife and we don't have another room that I can turn into a studio. And so that makes things a little bit more complicated. But that's just for the time being. We will eventually get to where we need to be. So hopefully this works out well. I will try to get a better mic. I will try to make sure lighting stays well. And hopefully we can get a better mount for my phone because obviously it is, acting up a little bit as far as jostling around when I bump into stuff. So, with all that being said, this channel will be centered around sports talk. Right now, we are in the doldrums of sports, so I want to start to get it built up now. And then once sports start, we'll have more content and we can really start to build this thing. But this is just raw commentary on teams that I like, sports, and the things that I'm interested in. And I know this was a bit of a shorter video, but again, we're just getting the hang of this. And that's really all I have. If anyone comes across this, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm just trying to build something from the ground up. So you could be a part of that, and that would be awesome. But that's all I have. Have a beautiful, wonderful day, and I will try to make another video soon. Peace.